about January 28th, 2001 as well, although that's always nice when I land and look off to the left of the plane and see Raymond James Stadium and think of that starlit night. But I caught a 5:40 a.m. flight on Monday morning back here, and Dennis Koulatsos from Coons Florida Security Boulevard and the SSV on WNST, which will be heard on Thursday this week, not Friday, has returned, and, I'm wiping the sleep out of my eyes, Dennis, but there is something very, very gratifying when you've been a fan of a team for 40 years, and you wake up to come home, and everyone in the hockey world is praising the Washington Capitals, even Deadspin saying nice stuff about the Washington Capitals, Dennis.
Well, they've arrived when Deadspin jumps on the bandwagon, which is pretty full right now. They're playing great, great hockey, and look, they're exercising some demons, aren't they?
It's not over, right? I mean, come on, exercising.
You got to believe. See, I don't have the emotional baggage that a long-time Capitals fan like such as yourself would have. I'm relatively new to having a love and a passion, developing a love and a passion for hockey. So to me, I'm optimistic as heck. And look, this team is rolling. Nothing to indicate that they're going to slow down anytime soon. I mean, it seems like the only time they let goals in is when they let up a power play, right? So when they're even strengths, they outscored the opposition 7-1 now. Lightning. It's just amazing.
It's my first time down there, right, to see hockey. I've been in that rink. I've seen the Eagles there. I've seen a couple of concerts down there. I saw Springsteen there. So I've been in the building, and I never really thought about it in a hockey way. Now, the last couple of years in Tampa, the last 5-10 years, it's become a hockey town. I mean, I think if you talk to anyone that lives there, anyone that has come in or out, I have Mike Broach, my dear friend who, as an 8-year-old boy, used to cover the Orioles for me here back in the day, is now a 33-year-old man with 2 kids there, and he lives there. And I went out to lunch with him on Sunday on Mother's Day with his mom and dad who were visiting, who were often in my home for Christmas, back in my old house in White Marsh for many, many years. So we're family. And he said, you wouldn't believe, he's a baseball guy. I mean, Broach is an Oriole, nut. And he's like, it's crazy to live down here where it's 95 and soupy every day, but everybody loves hockey. The Bolts are everything down here.
Wow.
No one likes the Bucks. No one likes the Rays, obviously. He said, but everybody he knows, everywhere he goes, the Bolts are it. And you could definitely feel it on Friday night. I mean, my wife and I went down there. She didn't go to the game on Sunday, but Friday she could have stood on the plaza with, 3,000-4,000 other people and watched the game outside the arena. And it was a lovely night. Now, Sunday it got a little rainier and crazier, but inside of that rink from Friday night to when we left on Sunday night, the difference in the mojo, in the noise, in the enthusiasm, because the Capitals are the franchise that rolls over all the time, right? So, on history, you think, well, the Capitals are coming in here. What chance do they have to win? Boy, it is a whole different week around here now, and certainly for Caps fans trying to get down there and go to the games. And the interesting thing for a guy like you that would not consider yourself a primary hockey fan and has sort of lost your taste for baseball, I mean, are you a guy that would consider going down there and going to a couple of games next year based on getting excited about it this year? This is their chance to grow their brand. I mean, we talk about the Tampa Lightning down in Tampa growing their brand. Look, the Rays have been in the World Series since the last time the Bolts have won. The Buccaneers have been in the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl there. This is how it happens, how a team captures the imagination. I think the Sixers have done that in Philadelphia in recent times, right?
Absolutely. Well, look, us watching hockey on TV, my wife Margaret, she walks by, she's like, wow, they have hockey in Tampa Bay, and I'm like, yeah, she says, it looks like it's sold out. I'm like, well, look at the people there. They all have a nice tan. They get to be near ice so they can cool down a bit, right? So I would guess that the floor seats there are the premium, but it was just a very nice look just to see the passion and enthusiasm by the home fans there for their team. It's just a good look, and to your point, it's a nice trip down there, right? You just came back from there. You get some sunshine. You might hit the beach. A lot of things to do in that area, and you take in some great hockey.
Well, there were a lot of Capitals fans on the flight down, a lot of Capitals fans on the flight back. They had that little thing they talked about. You couldn't wear red and all that. I mean, that's just to, I said to my wife, that's just to scare off the pansies. That's not to, you're a fan, you buy your ticket, you wear your red, and there was a ton of red in the lower bowl for Game 2 on Sunday night. But, Ovechkin and stepping out into the spotlight at this point for anyone who, hasn't surf the disappointment or the times he's gotten fat or out of shape or looked disinterested or the times when he was party boy down in Washington and the life of the party. the silver's coming in the hair, Den, and you and I are familiar with that. And you start to take stock that this is his best shot. And I love the stat that Eddie Olczyk brought up in the postgame on Sunday night, which is Ovechkin's played 110 playoff games and has scored 56 goals. So let's not make him the shrinking man in the playoffs. They haven't had... They haven't played well the last 2 or 3 years this time of the year, but they didn't have a team capable of winning a Stanley Cup 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago under Boudreau. They weren't built for it defensively. They weren't built for it with young goaltending. This year, and I talked to Trotz about this. I ran into him Saturday night. I went to dinner with Ryan Jensen, and I'll get to that in a minute. Mm-hmm. But Barry Trotz was in the lobby of Bern Steakhouse when I went in with Ryan Jensen and his wife Stephanie and their baby Wyatt. And I saw Trotz, and I went up to him and I said, I think you're winning the Stanley Cup. And he says, why is that? I said, calm. I saw the calm in the postgame on Friday night. I see the calm of the goalie. I see the calm of the Russian. I see the calm of the team. When, Ovechkin, okay, he's their best player. I'll give you all that. You could talk about Oshie and where Kuznetsov is and how Burakovsky's coming and what a great defender Carlson is and Orpik and Niskanen being these veteran guys. But Nick Backstrom's their best player. Their best two-way player. He's sort of the heart and soul of their team on penalty kill, on power, all the way through. And he's not there. And they're doing this without him. That, to me, is just incredible, unthinkable that if you would have told me they were going to go to Tampa and Nick Backstrom wasn't going to play in the semifinals, I'd say they're in a world of hurt.
Well, to your point, Nestor, they've changed goalies for the playoffs, for goodness sakes. Their best player, their best two-way player is out. They're playing with so much energy and enthusiasm. They're putting that puck on that blue ice. They have a ton of odd man rushes. I mean, they're just creating energy. Tampa Bay, they look listless. They've got to be on the ropes now with the Caps coming home. They're reeling. And look, a sweep's not out of the question. We'll take a win no matter when we get it. But this team is on fire and momentum. As Coach Billick always says, it's the force multiplier. And the Capitals right now have it in spades. You talk about confidence, calm. But they also have great energy on ice, especially on the offensive end. Once they turn it over and they start flying towards the other net, this team is very dynamic. And look, I hope they keep this thing going and bring the Stanley Cup home to D.C.
We'll be talking some hockey here this week. Well, the Stanley Cup will be coming to Baltimore. That's a guarantee. So, they'll bring it to D.C., but it will be rented into Baltimore when Barry Trotz brings it up here.
And
we drink Tom Ebright's champagne out of the cup. And, Ted Leonsis has also given me his word that the cup will be coming to Baltimore. So
they're a lot of fun to watch. And that's to me, when the score is 4-2, the outcome is still in doubt, as we can see these teams score goals in bunches. So to me, it's very exciting to watch until the very end.
Here's Dennis Koulatsos. He's over at Kuntz Ford Security Boulevard. And, of course, on Thursday, the SSV on WNST will be here from 3 until 5. What's going on over Kuntz Ford?
What's going on? It's a big Memorial Day sale, Nestor. 0% for 72 months plus up to $2,000 cash back. That is outstanding right now, particularly with the interest rates going up. Money's real cheap to borrow, and Ford Motor Company get credits giving it away. No better time to buy a new used vehicle at Kuntz Baltimore Ford than right now.
Or pre-loved, for that matter, right?
Pre-loved.
Pre-loved, that's what we call them there.
The nice thing about selling so many brand-new vehicles, we get a lot of trade-ins that nobody else has access to. We don't have to go to auctions and buy cars that we don't have a good history on. So we get a lot of late-model trade-ins that we just turn right around and sell them under market value to our local customers. It's a great thing.
These people up in Boston, my wife's from there and all that. I don't need them winning any more championships, but certainly LeBron is on the ropes, right? Right?
No, not really. Look, to me, whether you lose by 30 or you lose by 1, it is what it is. We've seen it before. I still see the Cavaliers in 7. Look, they've lost game 1 pretty badly the last couple of times they've been out. So, the Pacers had them on the ropes, couldn't put them away. Of course, they swept Toronto. Look, I think when they come home to Cleveland, LeBron will take over again. And we'll see if he can push them through in Game 7. They're still a lot of fun to watch.
Dennis Koulatsos joining us here, SSV on WNST, the way to follow them out on Twitter and everything they're doing on Thursday. He and Pete will be in here in the cockpit by then. The Caps be wrapping things up. I can't start smack talking with the Caps, you know what I mean? Because a loss on Tuesday night and all of a sudden momentum's a funny thing. And, as you pointed out with Billick, I mean, certainly it feels that way, but then you have to go out and do it. And then there are the Orioles, scoring 17 runs on Mother's Day to make Margot happy. And my late mother and everybody else that's ever rooted for the Orioles. But the Orioles are definitely DOA, and I think it's interesting they win a couple of games. People get worked up. The story here is Machado. The story here is the trade part of this. And I saw that the Boston Globe and Nick Cafardo did a takedown of the Orioles organization in advance of the Orioles showing up at Fenway Park this weekend to face the 700 Red Sox, as well as the Yankees running away in the American League East. But are you watching any Orioles, or are you done with them for this year, Dad?
There's so many other compelling storylines for me to watch rather than the Orioles right now, between the NBA playoffs, the hockey playoffs, college lacrosse right now. We love college lacrosse. Watch Hopkins and Maryland and Loyola play the other day. So many other things for me to tune into. For me, baseball, there's still 30 games to go, 120 games to go. So I will eventually start paying attention to them. But right now, with playoffs everywhere, that's where my focus is.
Well, okay, a little basketball, a little hockey to keep us together this week. Preakness this weekend. My wife has picked out a special hat. We got Bob Baffert in town. I mean, I don't know how we're not even getting to the Ravens here. I haven't even gotten to Ryan Jensen and the Ravens.
Right. Tell me about Ryan Jensen. I hope he picked up the tab. He just signed a big contract, so I would expect him to have paid for your meal.
I'm not a guy looking for a free dinner, but I did tell him that I would drink the cheap wine.
I would offer, though.
I offered to drink the cheap wine, and here's the rule we employed, and maybe you do this with some of your friends. He said, Tampa's my town right now, so I have to pick up the check. So the deal is, and you'll appreciate this because I know you love animals, Project Runway, they just came in last week, so I now owe Ryan Jensen and his wife dinner when they come to town for Project Runway. So,
that's right.
And I have bought Ryan Jensen a number of dinners because he's been my guest, and I've always picked up the tab for dinner when he comes out. So I'm not going to feel bad about a little petite filet and some cream spinach and you know what I did with the wine? I just ordered what he was ordering. That way I'm not out of line.
Right, there you go. Well, it's always great to pay it forward.
But a Cabernet was involved. A celebratory Cabernet Sauvignon was involved. For the Ravens. And it is fascinating with this Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco thing that now the internet trolls are getting involved and trollers on the internet are making up stories. They get passed along that Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson are sideways. I have no intel at all that is the case or that will be the case. I can't imagine Joe Flacco acting like an infant. It hasn't happened before. He's got $100 million in a ring and a trophy in the case. I think Joe Flacco is saying, you know what? Just come in and play. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. We'll do our thing together. Joe Flacco has never had a problem getting along with a backup quarterback, a third-string quarterback. So for that, I think this is very, very unfortunate. And I think for Joe, it's unfortunate that he hasn't had some sort of preferred statement or, prepared statement or has, come out and said what he really thinks, whatever that is, which is, I was shocked that they took a quarterback, but, hey, good.
He doesn't have to, though. To show me a business where you're supposed to welcome your eventual replacement with open arms and also show him how to take your job away from you. So, to me, it's unreasonable. It's a non-story. I think it's just the media trying to create something that's not there. The professionals, they have a job to do. Just because he hasn't texted Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger, he got beat up by the media, so of course he reached out to Mason Rudolph. But that's neither here or there. That was just to appease the media and the fans. But to me, it's a competition, so who cares? It's a non-story.
All right. Well, the non-story is OTAs, and they're throwing the football around. We're a couple of weeks out on the real minicamp. And, at some point we're going to hear from Joe Flacco. And at some point Joe Flacco is going to have to go out and take the ball against the Buffalo Bills the first week on September the 9th. And that's where he will be judged, right? I mean, there is no judgment on any of this until they start playing football in September. And I think that's one of the things that makes football awesome and also awful, right? Like this long off season that once the draft is over, now all we have is week one. There's nothing there's nothing else but lips moving and hot air because nothing that matters happens until the first week of the season.
Yep, no question about it. Look, I'm just happy that the Ravens have a quarterback now, theoretically with a high enough ceiling that if Joe Flacco does go down at some point, via injury, he can come in and salvage the season versus Ryan Mallett on RG3, who at that point would just be caretakers of the season while the team worked its way towards a high draft pick. So to me, hopefully Lamar comes in, learns under Joe, does a good job, and whatever happens down the road happens, but at least he does give us a sense that maybe he can do some great things once he gets on the field.
He is Dennis Koulatsos. He's over Coons Florida Security Boulevard. He'll be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. I'll be joining him probably en route somewhere, around the Lums Park on 295, headed toward Bowie or Laurel. But, hopefully at that point the Caps are getting closer to wrapping things up. I did tell Trotzy that I have arranged my transportation to Winnipeg. I don't have a flight to Winnipeg. I have a flight to Minnesota. Dennis, have you Googled how far it is from Minneapolis to Winnipeg?
Look, no, I haven't, but I'd rather go to Vegas, though. You know what? That'd be a great trip bouncing between D.C. and Vegas, right? That's, in my heart of hearts, that's a trip that I want.
You been to Vegas before?
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, see, I've been to Vegas. You ever been to Fargo, North Dakota?
Never been to Fargo.
Neither have I. I'm pushing 50 years old, Dennis. It's time. Fargo is calling me. Now, look, I've got the map here. You leave Minneapolis, you go through St. Cloud, Alexandria, Fergus Falls, wherever the hell that is. Then you go into Fargo, Grand Forks, and then you pass Pembina, North Dakota, and into Altona, and that's Winnipeg for those of you up there. So it's 6 hours and 53 minutes of land time from the Minneapolis Twin Cities Airport to Winnipeg, and I shall be seeing every pebble of stone and every jackrabbit that's going to run in front of me through the state of North Dakota. I've always wanted to go to North Dakota. This is my chance. And by the way, Trotz is from Winnipeg. He's from the Winnipeg area, so that's a hometown thing for him. And look, I'm with you. If it's Vegas, I'm fine with Vegas. I almost prefer the weirdness and the whiteout and the passion of Winnipeg. I've always wanted to go to Winnipeg, so for that, no disrespect to the Vegas. I'm not rooting against George McPhee or any. I probably would root against Fleury, that bum, but not Nate Schmidt. But if it happens to be Winnipeg, there's going to be one hell of a story to tell here. Really, Dennis, there's going to be one hell of a story.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's great just to be part of it, and hopefully the Capitals can seal the deal against the Bolts and bring it home, man.
Winnipeg to Minneapolis is 736 kilometers. They don't even do it in miles.
Oh, wow.
No
kidding.
Yeah, 7 hours and 1 minute right now because there's apparently a little traffic on the Twin Cities Turnpike. Hey, always good to visit with you. We'll see you on Thursday.
Good.
Appreciate the energy. I appreciate you watching hockey with me on a Sunday night. That's nice.
You got it. Absolutely.
We'll get you down there to the rink. You'll freeze down there, Dennis. You'll freeze your tail off down there. Thursday's the SSV on WNST. You can find Dennis Koulatsos here then, as well as the replay on Sunday. I got Caps fever, if you haven't figured it out. I've also haven't slept, so that's also part of it. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, Winnipeg, Vegas, anywhere the internet travels, you can find us. Nasty at WNST.net. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.